Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And this is my last Christmas card of the season. I promised one more white on white basically. It's got just a little spot of red on it. And what you need to make this card is very simple. We have a Whisper White base that is 8.5 by 5.5 scored and folded at 4 1/4. Then we have 2 panels of Whisper White at 4 by 5 1/4. A small piece of scrap, mostly just to cut out your bird and to do your sentiment here. And then we have a couple of pieces of the sparkle glimmer paper. And that's to make my little snowbanks here. So let's just get started. It's a very simple card, but I think it's very pretty. And the stuff on the inside is minimal, just the little trees, the bird, and the little wink of Stella there to mimic this sparkle on the outside of the card. Okay, so what we're going to do, most of our work is on one of these 4 by 5 1/4 panels. And I'm going to put some scratch paper down here. And I have from In the Woods stamp set. I have, let's see, I've got things from 3 different stamp sets. Winter Woods, because I've got these beautiful trees here, and that is our background. Then from Sitting Here, I'm taking this little tiny bird here, and that is the bird, the one little spark of color on our card. And then my sentiment comes from Christmas Pines, and it's Christmas Blessings, which I think is one of the prettiest ones. Okay, so that is what we're using. My ink is Sahara Sand, because I wanted something that is mostly muted. So I'm going to ink up my trees here. And then I'm going to stamp off once, and then I'm going to stamp my trees right here on my card. Here we go, and I'm going to do that a second time and get another row of trees here, stamp off lightly once, and then come back here and do a second set of trees overlapping just a bit. And on this one, you'll see one of my tree trunks ends up where you can see it here, and I really intended for those to be at the bottom. So watch your line here so that, I think that's better, so that your snowbank, now if you have some of that beautiful velvet, white velvet paper that we had for a little while this fall, that would be beautiful along here too. But I'm using the sparkle because I know that's something people can get. If you happen to have the other, then you might want to do that. So there is my stamping done. Oh, and the other thing I used, of course, was the Softly Falling embossing folder to emboss my trees here once I got them stamped. And so I'll need to step away for a second here and emboss these trees here, and actually I can do that now, I think. And I did these so that the heaviest part of the, let's see this way, the heaviest part of the embossing was at the top, not quite so much at the bottom. And so I will just step away for 1 second and run this through the embossing folder, and I will be right back. Okay, here is my folder and my trees all embossed. Isn't that pretty? Now, what I did to get the sparkle on the trees was I used some Tombow. It's very unscientific actually, and I just used some Tombow. I made sure on my piece of scratch paper here that I had the glue flowing, and there I do, and I literally just dabbed a little bit of Tombow, squeezing just ever so lightly so that I would get little chunks of glue all over and down below where I think my snowbank is going to go, because I just want to make sure I get plenty on there. And after I did that, I grabbed my Dazzling Diamonds glitter here, and I literally just poured some glitter all over the face of this card. There we go. And got little bits of glitter all over the front of my card. And then I'm going to set that aside a little bit here and let it dry. And it's kind of fun because the glitter comes out because of the way you put the glue on. It's some of it's a little chunkier than others. And so I think that's going to end up being just perfect. All right, so that's the major part of what I was doing there. And I'm going to just, like I said, set that aside. And of course, I've got glitter all over everything now. Then I prepare the snowbanks here, and I cut one of them a little narrower on one side, and I'm just cutting randomly here. And on this one, I'm angling so that my snowbank finishes on the high side here. And then on this one, I'll do the opposite. I'll start on this end on the low side, and that way it adds a little bit extra dimension to your card. And I think it's kind of fun that way. And so there's my snowbanks. Then you have to decide what you want where. And I think I kind of want that one on this end, and maybe this one underneath and on this end. Okay, so that being the case, I'm going to just go ahead and add a little bit of Tombow here to the back of my snowbank here, and get that put into place with the larger end here. And I'm going to run it right down to the very edge of the card at the bottom and along this side. Now some of that's going to be covered up with our frame here. And I have to tell you, the thing I'm most excited about in the new catalog is we have stitched rectangle frames. Boy, have I been asking for that for a long, long time. And you're going to be tired of my stitched rectangle frames by the time I'm done, because I'm planning on using them a lot. Okay, I'm going to trim off the excess here. And that's got some Tombow on it, so I'm going to clean off my scissors right away. All right, and then this snowbank is going to go back on our card. I'm going to hold that down for just a second there. And so this one is going to go from this side over this way. And in fact, I might raise that one a little bit just to catch. I think I want another piece of glimmer paper. I don't think that one was wide enough, because I really did want one of these to cover those tree trunks on the bottom. So I think I'm going to do this one and cut that again, and I can start that. Let's see if I go that way. Then I want to start on this end. Roughly about there, and have this one go down here from the bottom, come up and finish more on the high side on this one, and I think I did that right. Yeah, I'm still going to end up with a few pre-branches showing, but that's okay. In fact, because of the frame, I could probably come up a little bit. All right, so that's what I think I'm going to do, just like that. And I'm going to put some Tombow on the back of this piece because it's going to try and stick to glitter paper, and that's always dicey. Let's see here. I think that might be enough glue. And I'm going to raise that up because it's going to get hidden by my frame. And that'll allow me to cover the base of just about all of my trees there. Okay. Now I'm going to trim this end off here. And I'm going to hold that in place for just a second. There we go. All right. So, I guess the lesson there is that the snowbank should start out a little bit higher and not go quite so far down, and make them both so that they kind of crisscross here. And I think that's going to be fine. All right, so there I've got some snowbank. And then let's see here. The next thing I'm going to do is stamp my bird and my sentiment. So I'm going to bring back in my Sahara Sand ink, and I've mounted my Christmas blessings here, and I'm going to do the same thing I did with the trees and stamp off once because I really wanted this to be very faint. And there I've got a flat bottom, so I'm going to stamp that off once and stamp it right here as close to the bottom and the end as I can. The rim that I put on my frame on this is 1/2 inch. So, and it turns out that this greeting will fit on a 1/2 inch strip, which makes this real easy to do. So, what I'm going to do is trim that, and I'm no good with straight, so I'm going to use my trimmer, and I'm going to trim that down to a 1/2 inch on my trimmer. We'll see how that dries. I may have to do a little bit of touch-up with my marker. And it looks like about 2 7/8 is what the length on that one is. So that's what I trimmed it down to, a 1/2 inch by 2 7/8 of an inch. Okay, so there we go. Now, let me bring back that trimmer for 1 minute so I can show you how to cut this frame. What we're going to do is use one of these panels that is 4 by 5 1/4. And so I'm going to move this over to the 1/2 inch mark, and then I'm going to bring my trimmer blade down. I think you can see that it's right, let me make sure it's there. Yes, it's right at the 1/2 inch mark, and I'm going to push that blade down, and I'm going to come all the way down here to 4 3/4 because that would leave a 1/2 inch at the bottom. All right, then I'm going to take this and I'm going to turn it, and this is 5 1/4, so I'm going to move it to the 4 3/4 inch place, and I'm going to set it at the I may need to stand so I can see that I'm actually at the 1/2 inch mark there, because I can't see unless I pull it too close to me, and if I pull it close enough, you can't see. So down here, and you can almost feel it get to this little mark that's down here. And so now we're going to turn it around one more time. This is why I'm so excited about those stitched rectangle frames. So I won't ever have to do this again. I'll just be able to use my framelit. So I'm putting this at the 1/2 inch mark, and this time I'm going to move it to the 5 1/4 and come up to the 1/2 inch mark up here at the top. And then one last time set this at the 1/2 inch mark and put that in place and come down to this spot here. And you can almost feel your blade get to that spot. And that should pop right out, and it did. Okay. And if you do that first, you can use this piece to do your stamping and your for your greetings and your bird. Okay, so there's my frame. And what I did for putting this frame down is I took a set of dimensionals, and actually these minis will work well because they've got a wide margin along the edge here. And I'm just going to take my scissors, here they are, and I'm going to trim a small strip all the way up this set of mini dimensionals, and I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. And there's room on the back side of this for a couple of full-size dimensionals, which I will grab and put in the corners. So I'm going to start by doing that. So dimensionals in the corners, and then the longer strips along the edges. Okay, so this piece is ready now to go onto here. I'm going to pull that as close to me as I can, and I'm going to put this frame so that it exactly covers my front panel here. And there we go. So now it looks a little bit like a picture frame, particularly with dimensionals adding that little lift to the frame itself. So with the snowbanks and this, you end up with quite a bit of dimension on your card. All right, now there's our card front. Now we need a bird. So what I did was I have the stamp mounted for the little bird, and I need my Sahara Sand ink, and I did go ahead and stamp the bird full strength here and got quite a dark image. And then what you need to do is fussy cut out the bird. And to save a little bit of time, I have already fussy cut mine out. And there he is, my little bird. And so what I've done is on a piece of scratch paper here, I set my little bird down, and I have my Stampin' Blends here, my real red, and it comes in a light real red and a dark real red. And I used both, and I just colored in my bird here, all but his beak and his feet, in the light real red, getting right along the edges there. He's tricky to get done. And then just to give him a little dimension, I used the darker red at the top of his head here and along his tail feathers and his wing feathers. And then I did use my black marker to give him an eye. And I colored his little beak black and his feet, because I thought it would give a little bit more contrast if his feet and beak were black. Now, the last thing I did to the bird before I put him in place, and actually we can put him in place first and then do this, is I first used a little bit of Tombow on the back of my bird, just in case he ended up sitting on a little bit of glitter. I just didn't want to take the chance that it would be challenging for him to stick down. There we go. I've got the bird here. And you just need to find a place on your card. And in this case, I'm going to put him down here on this part of the snowbank. Put his tail on the outside of the snowbank. There. And I think I've tried some other birds, but I really am more pleased with this one because the scale of this bird is just perfect. It looks a reasonable sized bird to the size of the trees and in the foreground and so on. And then I did color the bird with a little bit of Wink of Stella just so that he would sparkle as well. Okay, for the inside of the card, we're going to do the same thing with the trees. We're going to stamp off once and then, let's see, did I really make that right? Stamp off once and then put a stand of trees right down here on the bottom of your card. There we go. In fact, I might do a double stamp on that and add a few more. There we go. All right, now the other thing I'm going to do is take my bird and I'm going to put a representation of my little bird right down here along the bottom. There we go. Now the only other thing was that I did add some Wink of Stella to the outside edges of the tree, actually all over the trees and on the trunks, and a little bit on my bird. And there, that's all ready to go. That's a pretty dry brush. I'm afraid that one's getting ready to go. All right, so that is just about it. We have got now this outside pretty dimensional piece, and the last thing we need is the Christmas Blessings stamp. Okay, well, that was interesting. I lost my Christmas blessing stamp. Stamp sentiment, so I did it again. So here is our 1/2 inch, so it fits right on the edge of this bottom of this frame at a 1/2 inch. And so we've already got quite a bit of dimension on this. And so I'm just going to go ahead right at the inside edge of the frame. So I'll line it up with the bottom of the card, and there we go. There it is, Christmas Blessings. And you see this one is just ever so slightly different than the first one, mostly by the bird placement, but it's pretty simple. Now the only thing I notice here is that I did put some Wink of Stella on my sentiment here, and so I'm just going to dab a little bit on the wider parts of the letters here. So now our Christmas blessings also has some sparkle to it. So that is my project for the day. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel. I do so appreciate it. And this is the last of my Christmas cards. If you have a last minute one you have to do for somebody special, it's really minimal supplies, a little bit of glitter and glimmer paper and white cardstock. And if you don't have a blend in the red, you can use your markers, or you could use your watercolor pencils, anything you've got, or cut it out of red paper. I mean, it's really pretty simple, minimal supplies. And then with the inside decorated, let's see, you know, I didn't finish by putting this on the card. My goodness, I'm having just a awful time here. So I'm going to put this on, and then my card really will be finished. Let's see, the prize draw for December is a $50 shopping spree on me out of the new catalog. Because my drawing will be done at the end of December, and the new catalog is available on January 3rd. So I thought it would be fun if you could pick some fun things from the catalog. So there we go. There is our project for the day, all finally finished, and with a little bit of tree detail and the bird inside. And so again, thank you so much for stopping by my channel. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I would love to be your demonstrator, and or you could join my team. Now, joining Stampin' Up! Is pretty lucrative at the beginning of the year. Starting January 3rd, the new join offer is, normally it's $125 worth of product, and for the first 3 months of the year, January through March, it is $175 worth of product for $99. Plus, there's that fabulous carry tote, craft and carry tote, that is available. I have mine right here. I'm going to grab it so you can see it. It's the only way that you can get this tote, and I'm going to bring it here. It kind of fills up the space, but I want you to see how substantial this is. It's got a zipper pocket here. This will hold punches, and then it's got, I'm going to set it on my table here so you can see it. It's got all of these compartments on the inside. It's just amazing. And then it's got another monster zipper compartment on the back that runs all the way across the whole tote. And then it's got these handles for carrying, and then it's also got a shoulder strap handle. So I'm hoping you can see on the inside of that all of these remarkable things that are this tote. And this tote is a good 16 or 17 inches long, and it is, I'm putting it on my grid paper here, we'll be able to tell. It is about 8 or 9 inches tall, and then the width on it is about 6 or 7 inches here, and I know that you can put your whole trimmer in there. I used it to carry to a swap I was going to where we had to take things for people to make. Anyway, this is available when you join for $50, and it's not going to be available to the public, and it won't be available. If you're a demonstrator, you can buy one, so that there's plenty available for people who are joining Stampin' Up! And so that is available. And so again, if you don't already have a demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. Or if you'd like to think about joining Stampin' Up! And what it would take to do that, please give me a call. My number is always listed below the video. I'd be happy to chat with you. No pressure. Just learn about it and see if it's something that makes any sense for you. And all of this can be ordered on my website, which is www.lbedinger.stampinup.net, and my blog is now up. So that is www.inkandingenuity.com. And so my projects and PDFs and different things will start being up on my blog, and I'll have a new sign here that gives you both my blog and my Stampin' Up! Site, and that will also be listed below the video. That's brand new for me. It's only been open and available to the public for a couple of weeks now, and so I'm very excited about it. It's going to take me some time to figure out dealing with a blog, because I hadn't done that before. And so there will be offers, special offers, and free PDFs and all kinds of things, so you may want to check it out. So that's it for me today. Thanks so much again for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Bye!